Okay, so as you kind of heard with our discussion on the business panel, the investing, finance, and business models we have today are kind of not working, right? They're not working for the planet, they're not working for women or anybody else who isn't, don't punch me in the nose, a white male. I mean, I tell it like it is, people. So now we're going to hear from some super creative thinkers in the finance, investing, and business space about the new models we need and, frankly, that we should be creating. So first, I'd like you to meet Tracy Gray in the glorious hat, who is founder and managing partner. Hey, girl, how you doing? Good to see you. I'll just hug everybody as they come up, okay? Anyway, Tracy Gray is the founder and managing partner of the 22 Fund, a venture fund dedicated to supporting businesses in the climate, sustainability, and impact space with an intentional, quote unquote, focus on companies that are founded or led by women and BIPOC teams, people of color. Fun fact, she may say this, but Tracy is literally a rocket scientist. So every so often she'll say, it actually is rocket science. So I just thought I'd throw that in for posterity. Shelly Porges is a good friend of mine. She's had an illustrious career as Chief Marketing Officer of American Express Canada, for all my Canadian friends here, and Senior VP of Bank of America, and then went on to found 6 companies with exits, and then was head of Global Women's Entrepreneurship at the State Department under Secretary Hillary Clinton. Now she's co-founder and managing partner of Beyond the Billion, which has a really interesting business and investing model driving investments in women-led and founded companies, one of the most innovative thinkers in finance. Enya has spent about 30 years in insurance and is a local lady. She even has a PhD in insurance. I mean, I didn't know you could get that, okay? Like, really. She's worked in every aspect of insurance, including Lloyd's of London, insurance industry, charitable foundation, blah, blah, blah. Currently with Munich Re, have a seat someplace. Actually, thank you. And is a consultant with Munich Re. She's also, by the way, a professor on this stuff. I think she channels insurance in her sleep. But anyway, and has her own company as well. And moderating this conversation is my good friend, the extraordinary Kristina Wyatt, one of the most widely held experts in corporate ESG. Kristina was Chief Sustainability Officer at Latham & Watkins law firm. She, by the way, led the task force at the SEC developing the climate risk disclosure rules. You want to talk about innovating finance models? And she's currently Chief Sustainability Officer and Deputy General Counsel at Persefoni, a leader in climate data disclosure management and decarb. Take it away, my friend Kristina.
This is working? Great. Excellent. Thank you so much, Joan. So I've probably sat on 200 or so panels in the last couple of years. I don't think that I've shared the stage with a more impressive group of people. I'm actually super excited just to get to know these amazing women. So here's how it's going to go. We're going to have a conversation for a little bit, and then we will leave a little bit of time at the end for some questions. And then we will do a lightning round of takeaways from each of you. And then we're going to put up a poll to get your feedback. So with that, look at my little notes. Let's start with you, Shelly. So you have this incredible background that Joan gave a little bit of information on, and you're truly a leader and an innovator. You're an entrepreneur. You're this incredibly inspirational figure. Can you just give us a little bit of sort of what the secret sauce has been that's been driving you? How did you end up, building 6 companies with all of these successful exits, working for Hillary? I mean, what's the thing that drives you? And in particular, the role of innovation, since that's sort of one of your many areas of expertise, is in driving innovation and helping to come up with solutions for the hardest problems that our planet and our people are facing. How did you become the person that you are?
all I can say is it is a long story. And by way of introduction, and not to go into the long story, I do want to welcome everybody here and share one small element of my background, which is certainly part of what drove me. The first thing is what has motivated me throughout is supporting women. So women, if in one word, it's women. Because we all have seen in every realm, I've seen in every realm, in every job I've had, in every exchange I've had, the need for that, the need for incredibly talented, brilliant, accomplished, investor returning, women requiring some of the support that we provide and a lot of the support that you all provide, including the students here in the room who inspire us all by the fact that you've chosen to be here. And chosen the fields that apparently you're in or seeking to be in with your futures. The one fact that I want to share with you about my background, without going into a lot of detail, is that I'm an immigrant to this country. And I have found it necessary to declare that recently. It's not something I talked about unless someone asked me. Came to this country when I was 5 years old with my family. My parents were refugees from Nazi Europe. My mother escaped Nazi Germany when she was 16. My dad escaped Czechoslovakia when he was 19. They met in pre-Israel Palestine, and I was born in Tel Aviv. So I think it's important to recognize that all of us, with our different backgrounds, contribute to what is this beautiful country, America, and to keep it beautiful. So I would say that certainly the focus of the inspiration for everything I've done has been women. I'm sure, without having ever really super analyzed it, the reasoning is my parents, who themselves were strivers, who themselves had big visions for their lives and their children, as we all do, and who themselves worked so hard to make sure that it happened. So just to be clear, we're not all born with silver spoons in our mouths. We're not all, there wasn't a bit of my education that I didn't essentially fund myself through working, through, scholarships or whatever else. We're not all born with silver spoons, but we can get there. And that's my primary message. And because I knew that, and I've seen opportunities that I had and that people gave me because they understood and appreciated what I could bring to the table, I felt like sharing the story as an underpinning for what we all do is really important. We have to all know that wherever we come from, there's something that we can contribute. And it may not be everything we hope for, it may not be everything we see as a problem, but we can do it. So I'll just start there. But anyway, let me shift gears now to the topic at hand, which is financing. So I'm going to start by asking you a question. Imagine if you were applying for a job and you knew in advance that you had a less than 3% chance of getting that job. Would you even bother to apply? This is exactly what most women face when they are applying for venture capital. They know what the statistics are. And they know that historically, the story hasn't been a good story, no matter how smart, no matter how capable, no matter how innovative they've been. And frankly, I've seen that throughout my career. And without going into my own personal story, because I actually want to say that I was lucky in many ways, because I did achieve a level of success at a very young age in the corporate world, I actually had a lot of men who knew what I could do. And I will say that the one strategy that I encourage everybody, every woman to consider is to make men your allies because they control most of the assets, okay? Not all men will be your allies, not all men want to be your allies, but if you look at the men in your lives who have been supportive of you or know what you're capable of, who have seen how hard you've worked, who've seen your successes, who have seen how much you've influenced other people, all of the above, then you can make men your allies. And P.S., you need to. Because these are the people today, sadly, but we're trying to change that, who control most of the assets. So let me fast forward to why I'm here today. I'm the co-founder, managing partner of Beyond the Billion. We launched in 2018 as the $1 Billion Fund for Women. We launched at the World Bank meetings in Bali with the intention of over a decade mobilizing $1 billion of commitments from VC funds all over the world to invest into female-founded and co-founded companies. We thought it would take us a decade. If you look at our earlier materials, if you look at our website, et cetera, when we launched in Bali, it said over the next decade, we will blah, blah, blah. Well, the happy news, maybe I should tell you the little story, is I told the World Bank, well, we'll do our best to come with the first 100 million pledged, and we were about 2.5 months out from the meetings. And my business partner said, are you crazy? You told them, like, what are you thinking, girl? You know, like, really? In 2.5 months? That's not going to happen. I said, well, if it's 80 million more for women, it's great because women aren't getting. If it's 50 million more, women aren't getting much. It'll be a start. And she said, yeah, but Shelly, it's only 2.5 months. What if it's 0? I said, 0? I don't think 0. I never think 0. I'm going to try something. I'm going to get something. Sooner or later, we'll make it happen. Well, the PS to the story, and I really want to share this with you to think big, is that the PS to the story is that by the time 2.5 months later we got to the World Bank meetings, we had over $460 million pledged from funds on 5 continents. And today, we're on every continent except Antarctica, where the penguins haven't started a venture fund yet, but when they do, we'll be there. And, I'm sorry, I had to take a tissue. I've had a little cold. Excuse me. Oh, all right, I'll get it later. Thank you. Thank you. See? Have friends. Women help women, yeah. But today, we're on every continent. We've already, in the first 2 years, despite COVID being year 2 of that, and we all know how difficult it was for all investors during that second year, the first year of the pandemic, over 638 million of that first billion that we thought would take a decade to deploy had already been invested into female-founded and co-founded companies globally. And we published our first billion global impact reports. You can find that online if you care to see more details on that at beyondthebillion.com. Then everyone was asking, well, what now, $2 billion, the $10 billion, what are we talking about? I'm thinking, oh, I'm not going to rebrand this company every 2 years. So we went beyond the billion, and sky's the limit. We knew that we had a momentum. We knew that we were in the right time, and we felt like we've got to make the most of this. And that's what we did. So we are soon to be publishing our second billion global impact report, and we welcome all of your support and at least reading and seeing what you can learn from it. But the bottom line is it's a different model. What we did was we went out to funds that were already investing. Some of them were new funds, some of them were billion-dollar plus funds, $100 million. And the happy news, bringing it back to Earth Day today, is that of our 130 funds, say partner funds all over the world, 30 of them are $100 million or above. A subset of those are billion-dollar plus funds. And half of those mega funds, those that are above $100 million in assets under management, are investing in clean tech and climate tech, among other things in some cases, not necessarily exclusively. But to me, that's like the best news ever. So I'll just leave it at that.
Absolutely amazing. So I want to get back to a couple of themes that I think you touched on. One is resilience. And when you see women in leadership positions, it's not just sort of luck. It's the people who've had to scrape and be resilient and believe that the sky is the limit and that no is not an acceptable answer and 0 is not an acceptable goal. And then certainly thinking differently about our problems. And Tracy, I'd love to turn to you. Joan's already revealed that you're a rocket scientist. So you're a rocket scientist, you're a funder and a founder and a believer and a coach and a mentor and an innovator, and you make things happen and you fully recognize the value of top talent. You are top talent, and you're in this space where you see that money is not going to women and people of color. The VC community, the funding community is giving some, 2%, allocating some 2% of capital to businesses that are run by women and people of color. So just at a time when we need all hands on deck and we need the rocket scientists, we need the smartest people in the room, the people with the biggest heart, the people who believe that there is no bound to what we can do, the money hasn't been flowing to those people. So we have all this talent on the sidelines. And you've been working to change that in a really innovative way. Can you talk about how you're tackling this problem of moving money to where it needs to go, to these women and people of color who are changing the world?
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Is that on? Yeah. Okay. Well, first, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for having me here. I don't come to Texas that often, so it's interesting to be here. I'm from Los Angeles, if you didn't know. What you should know about me is if something is illogical and unjust together, like, my mind explodes. I'm evidence-based. I'm an engineer. I'm a systems engineer that worked on the space shuttle, so I wouldn't really call me a rocket scientist, but I like to say that when they try to make investing in women and people of color complicated, I say it's not rocket science, because I know what rocket science is. So, and I'm a systems engineer, so if you have a system, if you can't have one part of the system work and think the whole system's going to work. Right? You have to have every part of the system work so that it can move together. And that's not what happens in finance. You'll have to excuse me because I have a potty mouth, so if I curse, just pretend you didn't hear if it offends you. It comes out because the system, a friend of mine, Joy Anderson, who you probably know, she is one of the three godmothers of gender lens investing, of investing with a gender lens. And investing with a gender lens is a form of analysis that you look at companies to see if there's women at the head, women on boards, products and services for women, supply chain is safe for women, policies support women. That's gender lens investing. Joy Anderson said, finance is not about money, it's about power. And that's what I want everyone to take away. It's about power. And who has the power? 98.7% of all assets under management are managed by white men. Not all men, white men. That means 1.3 is women and people of color together. So, and I also get annoyed when it's women and people of color. People of color, I'm a person of color and a woman, but women are 51% of the population. Yet they put us with a term called minorities. Now think about that. That's not a power word, minority. It's a word that makes you small, and I'm sorry, any white men in here. Look, I don't hate white men. I married one, so I don't hate them. I just think you're over-indexed on everything, right? So all that together, then when you look at women who invest, we're better investors. There's every bit of research has proven that women and people of color are a better investment. There's not one piece of research that proves white men are better investments. So someone do that and prove that, but we keep investing in them. That's when it's illogical and then unjust. So that's where, I was an engineer and in venture capital, and my first job in venture capital, I saw white man after white man after white man come in, and we're just throwing $2 million at them. That was our minimum for ideas. Now I was like, are there products? Is there any business model? And no, but we were just throwing money at them. I saw a man who was half Latino and one woman come in, and we invested in one woman through the whole time I was there. So from that time, this was in 2000, when it was 2% of venture capital. No, back then it was 3% venture capital went to women, and 10% of venture capitalists were women. We've actually gone down to the 2% of venture capital going to women, and 6% of venture capitalists being women. Now, that's impossible statistically. I'm an engineer, that's impossible when more women are coming into the system. We're launching businesses faster. If you look at women of color, it's 0.1% of all venture capital money. And if you look at black women, it's 0.0006%, a rounding error. We are a rounding error, right? Even though black women are, saving democracy half the time, are they organizing on the ground? Our companies are being built faster than any other group. And so people of color and women of color and men of color are 1%, get 1% of the capital. So that is not sustainable. If you look at climate, it's even worse. It's not, I don't even know what's smaller than a rounding error. That's where we are with climate. So I started my fund. I like to fill gaps. I don't like to copy and paste Silicon Valley and pink it, black it, brown it. That system wasn't made for us or by us. I don't know why we keep trying to copy it. And sometimes I do it. I will react the way a Silicon Valley venture capitalist reacts sometimes to my companies. And I'm also a Buddhist, so I'm an impatient Buddhist, as I say. And so it's easy to have that frame in what we do, but we really have to fight against that. So we started a fund that we call ourselves holistic investors, because impact investors tend to take one silo, one area, focus on that as if there aren't any other problems in the world. And women and people of color were hit with the multiple issues at one time. So that was illogical to me. Why would I invest in one area when women and people of color are hit with everything coming at you at one time? Race, gender, economic problems, and climate. So our fund invests in only hardware, manufacturing, because we cannot software ourselves out of the climate disaster we're in. Then that's all that Silicon Valley really wants to invest in is software, because you can exit really quickly. But we can't get out of climate with software. Matter of fact, I think it was Silicon Valley Bank and Congruent Capital did a report on all the companies that were invested in and their success in the last 20 years. 90% of them were hardware. But probably less than 10% of the money in venture capital goes to climate hardware. So we intentionally chose that. Then we help our companies expand globally, because although trade right now is a problem, the rest of the world does want our products. And we need to help the emerging markets, the developing countries, the global south, whatever you want to call them, leapfrog over their current technology if we want to reach where we need to be by 2030, which we are not going to make it. Just let's get that clear. We're not going to make that goal. Every year is the coolest year we're ever going to have again. It's not the hottest. It's the coolest year we're ever going to have again. So we've got to speed up everything. And that's what I tend to do, is I want to tackle. So when it comes to women and climate, the UN has said to have the greatest impact on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, increasing women's wealth impacts the majority of them the most. Increasing women's wealth. So when I heard that, and I heard all the statistics about women professional investors, and I looked at that we are in the biggest transfer of wealth from men to women we've ever seen. We control the money. We make decisions what is bought, but what we don't do is we don't invest our money like men do. 85% of our capital goes to our family and communities. Men, it's 35%. I don't know what the hell they're doing with the rest of their money. They're probably investing it, right? We've got to catch up. So I started a nonprofit called We Are Enough to get everyday women at every economic level to invest in women-owned businesses or with a gender lens. And because I'm just tired of shaming, cajoling, blaming, pleading men to do what is right, which is make more money if you do what's right. So we're launching a campaign called the 333 Challenge to get 3 million women over a 3-year period to invest in women-owned businesses or with a gender lens, if it's on average $1,000, that's $3 billion moved toward women in that short period of time. It never has happened. That's a 333 campaign. I'll share that we have a QR code where we just want you to take a pledge and say, within a year or 3 years, I will invest in women. We have a platform that's an investment platform that we've aggregated every product around the world where you can just go on there and invest in women. We don't take any money. We're not advisors. We're just aggregators. But all we want you to do is just pledge. Now, let me tell you what my last part, because I can see this clock is ticking down really fast. We went to NASDAQ as one of our partners, and they had some women try out the platform before we launched it. We've done a soft launch. And they were afraid to even take the pledge. Women are afraid of money, and I don't understand why. The pledge is not even moving money. It's just saying, I will do it in 3 years. And they were afraid. They wanted more information. They wanted more. They were very risk averse, right? Because our money goes to our communities and families. You can't blame us, right? If we lose our money, communities and families fail. But we need to make more money. Think about the politics we are in. Wherever you lie, those people who are running things are because people with money gave them money to run things. And not enough women are doing that. So we have to raise. So you can go to weareenough.biz, weareenough.biz, and there's a pledge. Just take the pledge. It's not risky at all. So that, and then we have a portal called Dollars and Cents, where you can learn everything you need to know. So you don't, if you think, oh, I don't know enough about venture capital, just go there and you'll learn more. I don't know what an accredited investor is. We have the definition. We are doing everything we can so you can't run away and say, I'm afraid to do this. So that's what I'm doing.
Amazing, right? So who would like to elect Tracy president?
You do not ever want me.
I do, actually. Yeah. So I have so many questions for you, but Enya, so you legitimately have a PhD in insurance. You're an insurance doctor, which is real, yeah. And it turns out we kind of need an insurance doctor, because if we look at property and casualty insurance, it's becoming unavailable in Florida, in California, and other areas. It seems as though the insurance system isn't working. We're going to get back to how all of this ties back to finance and moving finance to climate solutions, and how women are clearly going to be a part of the solution. But just focusing on the insurance industry with your expertise as a doctor of insurance, am I right that the system is broken? And if so, what do we need to do to fix it? What's the right medicine?
First of all, I want to thank my fellow speakers on the panel. You inspired me already. I want to pledge with what you're doing there. So thank you for inspiring me. For insurance, I have to say, I want to be here to deliver a message that we want to help. We are struggling with some of the challenges we have today. I can give you some numbers just to see the challenge, to show you what we have. So if you look at the natural disasters in the past, 30 years, right? I have those numbers from UN as well as NOAA. So between 1980 and 2010, average 5 severe weather events a year. So that was the first 30 years, right? When I say severe, meaning $1 billion losses. That was 2010 and before. And then between 2011 and 2022, that number tripled to 15 events a year. And then you look at last year, 2023, the year before, was 28 events. So look at those numbers. To be realistic, as much as we take so much pride, I am an insurance nerd. I truly love what I do, but we cannot do this alone. We need help from everyone. And for severity, if you look at the numbers, between 2001 and 2009, average losses globally, 63 billion. And the next 10 years, 2010, 2019, during that decade, is 100 billion. And then you look at the most recent 5 years, $150 billion losses globally. And last year alone was 417 billion. So talking about numbers, the GDP of US in 2024 was only 30 trillion. And then if you look at the entire P&C insurance industry, which insures those losses, some of those losses, the entire reserve we had is only 950 billion, which means twice or 2 years, we'll use all our reserves. We'll be becoming insolvent. So what I'm trying to tell you is we cannot solve the problem alone. That's number one message. And number two, we do have good news. I want to share with you 3 short stories. So there's a company called Jumpstart. This is a insurtech. They focus on offering small amount of insurance recovery amount. So you only pay $20 a month, 20 a month, 3 cups of Starbucks, I would say, in that magnitude, right? You would have a recovery amount of $10,000 after earthquake, paid within 2 or 3 days. So it's a very small amount of premium you pay in return for a quick recovery amount to get you jump start after earthquake. That's number one. And number two, this company is called, I was looking for my notes here. It's called Ocean Ledger. They're formed in 2023 in London. And what they do is they have a technology to analyze the coastal risk. As you mentioned, Florida, right? Coastal risk has become so severe. So they are trying to do a more accurate risk assessment of coastal risk to help insurers to be able to pricing more accurately, therefore to write more risk on the coastal area. So the 2 keywords in insurance is affordability and availability. So by doing the jump start, they make insurance more affordable. By doing the Ocean Ledger, they make insurance more available. So they're doing their things. And then there's also a company called Blue Marble. So Blue Marble is a company that formed by a number of insurance carriers and brokers as a consortium. And their goal is to offer cheaper insurance to low income, in particular women. So I'll tell you a story really quick. So this is something they did with the Self-Employed Women Association in India, which represent 2.5 million women in India at the lower bracket of income. Their average income a day is $3. $3 a day is their income average. So Blue Marble team up with a couple of nonprofits as well as the Self-Employed Women Association in India, and they offered extreme heat income insurance, which triggers by the extreme heat of the local weather. If that happens, they will pay $3. Again, very small amount, but that will cover the income of those low-income women. They don't have to go work in the extreme heat to suffer. So one thing underlying all those 3 stories is their founder or co-founders are all women. These are women initiatives that help others to become more resilient, to make insurance more affordable, to make insurance more available. So in that, I feel inspired. You know, I don't know everything. I still learn insurance every day with a PhD in insurance, but we are trying to solve problems with creativity and with women together. That's what inspires me. And what I want to say last is I am an immigrant. This year marks half my life in America, half my life in China, where I was born and raised. And I'm proud to say, as an immigrant, I still love America, despite what's happening right now in our world. Because together, we're stronger. We need America to be a leader in the world. We need that leadership from America. And this is still true to this day. And I still want us to know we can work together between China and America.
Thank you so much. I feel like I'm going to cry up here. This is really inspirational. I would love to keep going and ask you, my next question was going to be about pulling this all together and the innovation that we might need to bring to the built environment, to bring to reducing carbon emissions, to bring to the hardware solutions that you're helping to promote, and the role of women in driving that innovation that we're going to need to think differently about how we live in the world. But I think I'm going to leave you with that question to think about, and maybe we can have a follow-up at some point, because I promised you all that I would leave some time for questions, and then we're going to do a lightning round, and we're going to put up a poll. So we really just have time probably for one question. I see one back there. Do we have a mic?
Maria, use your lung power.
I know. Okay, first of all, thank you. I love you all. I'm going to be in touch. I love money. I love to see it circulated into its highest and best use. Tracy, we have a social impact fund. I'm an investor. We've raised hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, I personally have facilitated the raising of a lot of money as a woman, so I can speak to everything you're saying. But Tracy, I want to join your initiative. But getting back to what Shelly, what you were saying about, the investing taking place in women, there's so much going on there. From my experience, even as an investor, only one person in the last 5 years, one woman came to me seeking capital, and that was someone I had known for 20 years. So confidence, women have to step up. It's a huge confidence thing. When I speak to women about capital, they're like, well, I didn't know if I qualify. Like they're always second guessing, yeah, but that's a huge consideration because nobody's gonna invest if you don't ask, number one. And number two, we have to get more experience around us. If you want somebody to invest millions of dollars, you need to surround yourself with the people that have done that. And I feel like they're hesitant about surrounding themselves with excellence and greatness and all of that. That's how I generally attract the capital. I have a good plan. I surround myself with people that will help me get there, and I ask. And I'm a New York ballsy chick, so I just go for it. But can you speak to the other reasons why women? It's not just because we're women, or there's other factors happening besides that. What I just said. What are you seeing?
Maybe I could just start it, and because I have several reactions to it. But one, what we have seen across the spectrum of women investors, first of all, understand even women who are inheriting, as Tracy just mentioned, we're going through this great wealth transfer. We've known about it for over a decade now, which is one of the reasons we started. I knew about it from a senior executive at JP Morgan like years ago. That this was going on, and that they were, P.S., losing a lot of business because women who are inheriting $1 million or more, which is a lot of money, might not seem that way to those, from that echelon, but we're leaving these advisors. And I said to her, well, what are you doing about it? Well, the first thing she said is shaking in our boots, because 80% of women who inherited $1 million more left in less than 12 months. That meant their whole entire business was out the door in less than a year. Thinking like, oh my God, that was the first time I had heard that. That was a while ago. She's shaking her, oh, I hope you're doing more than that. But what she said is, what we discovered in our research is that, one, it's not that necessarily women are insecure, but when they seek information, women are risk aware. You talked about risk averse. We think of women as being risk aware. Women are aware of more risk because they're responsible for the safety of their families. And it's something like, it's kind of innate and inherent. And that may lead to us being risk averse, but basically risk aware. And so they're asking questions about, well, what about this and what about that, especially if they haven't had the experience of investing and or whatever. And P.S., at that time, I think it's gotten a lot better now, and we see the data changing. But what they were seeing, they weren't getting their questions answered. First of all, 80% of the women who had advisors with their spouses didn't go to their advisory meetings, which to me is like insane. If you're going to want your questions answered, you better go to those meetings. I mean, you can call them too, but like that's where you get the full updates. But two, is they weren't getting their questions answered. They weren't being respected. They weren't, and when they got the answers, they didn't like the answers because the answers didn't satisfy what they wanted to invest in, what they cared about. Health, women's health, so many other things, housing, name a thing. I had dinner last night with a friend who lives here in Dallas, and she and my very other close friend who lives in Palm Springs have started this Women Investing in Real Estate Fund. And they said, oh my God, when we started this thing, Shelly, we didn't know. I said, if you'd asked me, I could have told. But they said, look, we know all these women with plenty of capital, but they're not investing because they don't know how, and they're afraid. They're afraid to take the step they haven't taken. Many of them, interestingly, are great philanthropists. I mean, they know what they care about. They know what they want to see, where they want to see changes. So that would also make them potentially great investors because they're focused on things that that could be investable. And P.S., one of the interesting new and I think creative approaches to investing that some of our funds are starting to tap into is that donor-advised funds, which wealthy people who, donate a big amount of money to a central fund that they can tap into for all of their charitable giving. So they've already got the tax deduction up front, and then wherever they're giving, they don't get an additional tax deduction, but it makes it very easy to flow the capital. You can now, there's an organization called Impact Assets, and they have an Impact Assets 100. You're familiar with that. I think you're on it, right? You are. And they are citing some of these great investment funds that also meet their standards for impact. And thus, you can use your donor-advised funds. And many of these women are very comfortable using their donor-advised funds to donate. They just never knew that you could also use them for investing in companies and initiatives and whatever. So I do think that there's an evolution slowly going on, but I think the number one thing is for us not to downplay women's hesitation for whatever reasons they may be hesitant, but to acknowledge, respect, come to understand it's on us to understand why aren't they investing. It's not because they don't care. They care a lot. It's because they don't understand how what they care about gets helped by what we are investing in. So.
Just to clarify, what I was speaking about, you mentioned at the beginning women aren't being...
Right, Maria, we need to move on. I'm sorry, babe, but we only have a few minutes left. Go ahead.
I agree with you. I love risk aware. I'm going to try to use that all the time. But, society has done a number on women. It's not, we are fearful, we are risk adverse because we've been told over and over again that we're not good enough, right? That's why I called the organization We Are Enough. We don't like to talk about money. We don't like to talk about how much money we spend, how much we earn, how much we don't have. We're just afraid. And dudes do it all day long. That's their love language is money, right? So we just have to be less fearful. We do like to get so much information and then get more, and then get more. We have to trust ourselves and our intuition. Women's intuition is a real thing, and this is coming from an engineer, right? It's been measured, and so you trust your intuition and then gather some information. We called our investing platform North Star, so that women have a North Star toward wealth and toward changing the world. Women, when we have our money, are more like 1.15 times more likely to start an impact fund, business, or something. So we really got to get out of our way and just take the risk. So we have on the platform, we have from 25 cents to $25 million that you can invest on the platform. So you can't say, I don't have enough money. You have 25 cents, right? We have Kiva on there, which is $25. We have everything there. We're trying to figure out the DAF, because I got DAFs in my fund, right? Donor advised fund. So we have a foundation that money can come in and we can reinvest it in a fund. There are clever ways that women are coming up with to solve this problem. But just trust yourself and your intuition and don't question yourself.
I just want to add to Tracy's point. I think the system was built not in women's favor. That's the underlying issue we have to face in everything we do, in any industry. So to Tracy's point, if we could become more creative in creating our own system, in our own platform, that will help break that mold. That's my point.
Absolutely great. We don't have time for more questions, unfortunately. We're going to do a super fast lightning round, so like 30 seconds of a call to action, and then we're going to put up a poll, which you can activate using your phone, and please do respond to the poll. We'd really love to have your feedback and your thoughts and your ideas. So, Enya, let's start with you. A call to action, something that you'd like to leave people with, that you'd like to encourage people to do.
Take risk. I am a risk taker. I would encourage you women in the room and your fellow women friends, take risk. I'm also holding this little rose I was given by Heidi, who is going to speak tomorrow. So spread a little kindness every day. Just take actions from you.
Thanks. Well, I would say something differently. Take a new step toward your passion, and don't let any fear or sense of unpreparedness hold you back. You can do it. We're all doing it, and we're all doing it in different ways. So, don't compare yourself to everybody else you see on social media or anywhere else, or anybody you see on a platform or whatever. Just what is it that you want? What do you want to change, and what do you want to? And ask yourself, what is the single thing? If I would ask you, ask yourself right now, what's the single thing I would most like to change in the world today as it relates to environment or perhaps some other issue? And then start it. Just start doing it. And I just want to give you a small anecdote. You mentioned Jessica. Well, you mentioned Kiva, co-founded by Jessica Jackley, a young woman. She co-founded it when she was an MBA at Stanford University. I happen to know that because I was the president of the Financial Women's Association in the Bay Area when I lived there, and we had a fund for students, and we invested in Jessica Jackley.
I have just real quick. First of all, take the pledge on weareenough.biz. Take the pledge at weareenough.biz. Don't be afraid of failure. Consider it practicing. And finally, I have a quote from Emma Hayes, who is I'm a soccer person, and she is the U.S. women's soccer coach. And she said, there's a curse word in here, but I won't say it because I made it through without cussing. If you cannot change the system, change the frigging system.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I want to thank all of these incredible panelists. Thank you all so much. Thank you for being here. Please do use the QR code and respond to the question, what specific action or solution discussed today could most effectively improve funding for women-led climate initiatives? And if you need to stay over for just a minute, please do so. And thank you all so much.